You know that feeling when everything in your life just clicks into place? That's exactly how Amira felt that summer. She had two best friends, Zoya and Layla, and their bond was something special. They weren't just regular friends who met up occasionally. No, these three women were like sisters who had chosen each other. Their story began 8 years ago in college. Amira remembered the first day she met Zoya in the library. Zoya had accidentally spilled coffee all over Amira's notes, and instead of getting angry, they both ended up laughing so hard that the librarian had to ask them to leave. A week later, they met Layla in their psychology class, and somehow the three of them just fit together perfectly. They studied together, cried together during exam stress, celebrated every small victory, and supported each other through family problems and heartbreaks. After college, life tried to pull them in different directions. Amira went into marketing, Zoya pursued graphic design, and Layla became passionate about content writing. But distance and busy schedules never weakened their friendship. They made it work with weekend meetups, late-night video calls, and an endless group chat that was always active. They even gave themselves a nickname, the Triangle. It was their way of saying that their friendship had three equal sides and nothing could break it. Then came the moment that changed everything. Amira had been working really hard at her job, putting in extra hours and going beyond what was expected. Her dedication paid off when she got promoted to marketing director at a growing tech company. She was only 29, and this was a huge achievement. The salary was great, the office was modern and comfortable, and her new boss seemed genuinely nice. But what made her even more excited was what happened next. During her second week in the new position, her boss mentioned that the company was expanding. They needed a graphic designer and a content strategist. The moment Amira heard this, her mind went straight to her friends. Zoya was an incredibly talented designer who could turn the simplest idea into something beautiful. Layla had a way with words that could make anyone stop and read. They were both stuck in jobs that didn't appreciate their talents, earning less than they deserved. Amira didn't waste any time. That evening she called both of them, her voice bubbling with excitement. "You won't believe what just happened," she said. She told them about the openings and insisted they apply. At first, both Zoya and Layla were hesitant. They worried about whether they were qualified enough, whether it would be weird working with their best friend, and whether they could handle the pressure of a bigger company. But Amira wouldn't hear any of it. She believed in them completely. She knew Zoya's portfolio was stunning. Even if Zoya herself didn't realize how good she was, she knew Layla could write content that actually connected with people, not just empty words filled with keywords. So Amira did something bold. She walked into her boss's office and personally recommended both of them. She talked about their skills, their work ethic, and their creativity. She put her own reputation on the line because she trusted them that much. The next 2 weeks felt like forever. Amira kept encouraging her friends, helping them prepare for their interviews and calming their nerves. When Zoya got the call saying she was hired, all three of them screamed with joy over their group video call. When Layla got her offer letter 3 days later, they decided to meet up and celebrate properly. They went to their favorite restaurant, ordered too much food, and stayed until closing time talking about how their dreams were finally coming true. Amira felt like she was floating. She had helped the two people she cared about most in the world, and now they would all work together. They could have lunch together every day, collaborate on projects, and support each other in their careers just like they had supported each other through everything else. It felt like the universe was rewarding their friendship. The first day Zoya and Layla started at the company was magical. Amira gave them a tour of the office, introduced them to everyone, and made sure they felt welcome. They took a selfie together in the break room and posted it with the caption, "The Triangle Goes Professional." The likes and supportive comments from other friends poured in. Everyone was happy for them. Those first few weeks were everything Amira had hoped for and more. Every morning they would arrive around the same time and grab coffee together. Lunch breaks turned into the best part of the day. They would sit in the cafeteria or sometimes go to the small park nearby, sharing food and laughing about office gossip and inside jokes. When they worked on projects together, it felt natural and fun. Zoya would design something, Layla would write the copy, and Amira would bring it all together with her marketing strategy. They were a perfect team. The office culture improved too. Other colleagues noticed how well they worked together, and how positive their energy was. Even their boss commented on how great it was to have such a collaborative team. Amira felt proud every single day. She would go home and think about how lucky she was. Not everyone gets to work with their best friends. Not everyone gets to spend their days with people who truly understand them. They started a new tradition. Every Friday after work, they would go to this small cafe near the office and talk about their week. They called it their triangle time. They would discuss their projects, give each other advice, and just enjoy being together. Life felt complete. Amira had her dream job, her best friends by her side, and a future that looked incredibly bright. One evening, as they sat in that cafe, Layla raised her coffee cup and said, "Here's to Amira for making all of this possible." Zoya joined in and they clinked their cups together. Amira felt tears in her eyes, the good kind. This was exactly where she wanted to be. Exactly who she wanted to be with. The triangle wasn't just unbreakable anymore. It was thriving. It was stronger than ever. Or at least that's what Amira believed. She had no idea that in just a few months everything would fall apart in ways she never could have imagined. But for now, in that moment, everything was perfect. About 3 months into their time working together, Amira started noticing small things that didn't feel right. At first, she told herself she was overthinking. Friends have off days, right? Everyone goes through rough patches. But these small things kept adding up, and soon they became harder to ignore. It started with Zoya. Zoya had always been the most organized person Amira knew. In college, she was the one who had her assignments done days before the deadline. At her previous job, despite not liking it much, she was never late and always delivered quality work. But now something had changed. Zoya started showing up to morning meetings 5 or 10 minutes late. Then it became 15 minutes. Her design drafts, which used to be creative and polished, started coming in incomplete or needing major revisions. During one team meeting, Zoya presented a logo design for a new client. The room went quiet. It wasn't bad exactly, but it wasn't good either. It looked rushed, like something put together at the last minute. Their boss, Mr. Ahmed, frowned slightly but didn't say anything harsh. After the meeting, Amira pulled Zoya aside in the break room. "Hey, is everything okay?" she asked gently. "That wasn't really your best work." Zoya's reaction surprised her. Instead of opening up like she normally would, Zoya became defensive. "I'm fine, Amira, I'm just tired. Not everyone can be perfect all the time." Her tone had an edge to it that Amira had rarely heard before. Amira tried to dig deeper, asking if there was something going on at home or if the workload was too much. But Zoya just gave vague answers about being stressed and needing space. Then she walked away, leaving Amira standing there confused and a little hurt. Amira wanted to respect Zoya's need for space, but she was worried. This wasn't like her friend at all. She thought about talking to Layla about it, but whenever she tried to bring it up, something else seemed off there too. Layla had become distant in a different way. She stopped joining them for lunch, always saying she had too much work or needed to finish something urgent. At first, Amira believed her. The content strategist role was demanding, and Layla was handling multiple projects. But then Amira noticed something else. Layla was having private conversations with Mr. Ahmed. A lot of them. She would see them talking in his office with the door closed or standing in the hallway speaking in low voices. Whenever Amira approached, their conversations would stop abruptly. Layla would give her a quick smile and change the subject, but there was something in her eyes that Amira couldn't read. It made her stomach twist with an uncomfortable feeling. Their Friday cafe tradition started falling apart too. Zoya would cancel last minute, saying she wasn't feeling well or had other plans. Layla would come but seemed distracted, constantly checking her phone and not really engaging in conversation like before. The easy laughter and deep talks they used to have were replaced with awkward silences and surface-level chit-chat. Amira felt like she was losing her friends, but she didn't understand why. Then came the day that changed everything. The company had landed a huge client, a major electronics brand that wanted a complete marketing campaign. This was the kind of project that could make or break careers. Everyone was excited and nervous. The presentation was scheduled for a Friday afternoon, and the entire leadership team would be there. Amira, Zoya, and Layla were assigned to work on it together. Amira felt a spark of hope. Maybe this project would bring them back together, remind them of how well they worked as a team. The weeks leading up to the presentation were tense. Amira worked on the marketing strategy and coordinated everything. She checked in with both friends regularly, asking about their progress. Layla seemed to be doing fine, sending her content drafts that were actually really good. But Zoya kept saying she needed more time, that she was working on something special. Amira trusted her and didn't push too hard. She remembered how Zoya used to work best under pressure and would often create her best designs at the last minute. The morning of the presentation, Amira asked Zoya to send over the final designs so she could review everything one last time. Zoya sent them 30 minutes before the meeting. When Amira opened the files, her heart sank. The designs were incomplete. Some slides had placeholder text. The color scheme was inconsistent. The logo placement looked amateurish. This wasn't just below Zoya's usual standard. This was the kind of work that shouldn't be shown to a client at all. Amira called Zoya immediately, her hands shaking. "Zoya, we can't present this." "What happened?" Zoya sounded panicked on the other end. She apologized, saying she had been struggling with the creative direction and ran out of time. Amira felt torn between wanting to help her friend and knowing they had a professional obligation. She made a quick decision. She asked Layla to help, and together they spent the next 20 minutes trying to fix what they could, but there wasn't enough time to make it great. They could only make it acceptable. The presentation was a disaster. Not a complete failure, but definitely not good. The client representatives looked unimpressed. They asked pointed questions about the design choices, and Amira had to scramble to give answers that made sense. Mr. Ahmed sat in the back of the room, his expression getting darker with each slide. When the meeting ended, the client said they would think about it, which everyone knew was polite code for probably not. After the client left, Mr. Ahmed asked Amira to come to his office. Her legs felt weak as she walked down the hallway. She knew what was coming. When she sat down across from his desk, he didn't shout or get angry. Somehow, his calm disappointment felt worse. "Amira, you personally recommended Zoya for this position," he said. "You told me she was exceptional. You put your name behind her. And today, in front of our biggest potential client, we looked unprofessional. This reflects on you, on your judgment, on whether I can trust your recommendations in the future." Every word hit Amira like a physical blow. She tried to explain, to defend Zoya, to take responsibility, but Mr. Ahmed cut her off. He told her he expected better and that she needed to figure out what was going on with her team. As Amira left his office, she felt tears burning behind her eyes. She had tried to do something good for her friends, and now it was all falling apart. That evening, Amira knew she had to talk to Zoya. This had gone beyond friendship now. It was affecting both of their careers. She texted Zoya asking to meet after work, and they agreed to go to a quiet coffee shop away from the office. When Amira arrived, Zoya was already there, looking tired and worn out. For a moment, Amira's anger softened. Her friend was clearly going through something difficult. Amira sat down and tried to approach the conversation with kindness. "Zoya, I'm really worried about you. Today was really bad, and I got called into Mr. Ahmed's office. He questioned my judgment for recommending you. But more than that, I'm worried about you as my friend. What's going on? You can talk to me." She reached across the table, trying to take Zoya's hand, but Zoya pulled away. "You want to know what's going on?" "You're what's going on, Amira." Her voice was sharp, angry. "You act like you're helping, but really you're just trying to control everything. You brought us here, and now you're treating us like we work for you, like we're your little projects." Amira was stunned. "That's not fair. I'm trying to help you. You're struggling, and it's affecting both of us. I put my neck out for you." "And there it is," Zoya said, her eyes flashing. "You keep reminding me that you helped me get this job. Like I owe you something. Like I'm not good enough to be here on my own. Maybe I don't want to be here at all. Maybe I don't want to work with my friends breathing down my neck, judging every single thing I do." The conversation spiraled from there. Both of them said things they didn't mean, or maybe things they had been holding back for too long. Zoya accused Amira of being controlling and making everything about herself. Amira accused Zoya of being irresponsible and not caring about how her actions affected others. By the end, they were both close to tears, but the angry kind. Zoya grabbed her bag and left without saying goodbye. Amira sat there alone, shaking and confused. How had everything gone so wrong? The next few weeks were miserable. Amira and Zoya barely spoke at work, only communicating when absolutely necessary for projects. The tension was obvious to everyone in the office. People started asking Amira if everything was okay, and she had to pretend it was just work stress. Meanwhile, Layla continued to be distant. Amira felt completely alone, Even though she was surrounded by people all day, she decided to reach out to Layla. If she couldn't fix things with Zoya right now, at least she could talk to Layla about what was happening. They met for lunch at a small restaurant, and Amira poured her heart out. She talked about the fight with Zoya, about feeling like she had made a terrible mistake bringing her friends to work with her, about wondering if their friendship would survive this. She expected Layla to be supportive, to offer advice or at least a listening ear. But Layla's responses were strange. She seemed distracted, offering only brief comments like, "That's tough," or "I'm sure it'll work out." She kept checking her phone throughout lunch. It felt like she wasn't really there. Then came the night that shattered everything. Amira was working late at the office, trying to catch up on projects she had fallen behind on due to all the stress. Most people had gone home and the office was quiet. She needed to access a shared folder on the company's server to find some old campaign materials. As she was clicking through folders, she accidentally opened one that wasn't properly labeled. Inside were email threads, and the first few words she saw made her stop cold. The emails were between Layla and Mr. Ahmed. Amira knew she probably shouldn't read them, but something made her scroll through. What she found made her feel physically sick. The emails went back almost to the start of Layla's employment. At first, they seemed innocent enough, just work-related discussions. But as Amira read further, a pattern emerged that made her stomach turn. Layla had been reporting on both Amira and Zoya. In one email from 2 months ago, she wrote about Zoya's declining performance, but she framed it in a way that also questioned Amira's leadership. "I'm concerned that Amira might be too close to this situation to handle it objectively. Her friendship with Zoya is preventing her from taking necessary action." In another email, she suggested that Amira had shown poor judgment in hiring friends instead of conducting a proper professional search for candidates. But the worst emails were the ones where Layla actively promoted herself. She positioned herself as the reliable one, the one who was there on her own merit, not because of friendship. She wrote things like, "I want to assure you that my work stands on its own, regardless of my personal relationships, and I believe in keeping professional and personal boundaries separate, which is why I wanted to bring these concerns to you directly." Amira felt like she couldn't breathe. This wasn't just office politics. This was betrayal. Layla hadn't been distant because she was busy. She had been distancing herself deliberately while quietly undermining both of her supposed best friends. All those private conversations with Mr. Ahmed, all those closed-door meetings, they were about this. Layla had been building her own career by tearing down the people who trusted her most. The dates on the emails showed this had been going on almost from the beginning. While Amira was celebrating having her friends at work, while they were having their Friday cafe meetings, while they were taking selfies and posting about the triangle, Layla had been playing a completely different game. She had been calculating, strategic, and utterly ruthless. Amira sat at her desk in the dark office, staring at the screen. She thought about all the times she had confided in Layla, all the times she had asked for her advice about Zoya. Had Layla been reporting all of that too? Had she been using their friendship to gather information she could use professionally? The betrayal cut deeper than anything Amira had ever experienced. This wasn't just about work. This was about trust, about years of friendship, about the person she thought she knew. She printed out some of the most damaging emails, her hands shaking as the printer hummed in the quiet office. She needed proof. She needed to show someone, but who? Zoya wasn't speaking to her. And confronting Layla felt terrifying. What would she even say? How do you confront someone who has been pretending to be your friend while systematically destroying you behind your back? Amira drove home that night in a daze. She kept replaying memories in her head, looking for signs she had missed. How long had Layla been planning this? Was any of their friendship real, or had it all been fake? She thought about college, about all the times they had supported each other, about the late-night conversations and the shared dreams. Had Layla been different then, or had Amira just been too blind to see who she really was? That night, Amira couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, feeling completely alone. The triangle was broken, and it wasn't just cracked. It was shattered into pieces. And the worst part was that she still had to go to work the next day and face both of them, pretending everything was normal when her entire world had fallen apart. Amira spent the entire weekend trying to figure out what to do. She read and reread the emails, hoping she had somehow misunderstood, but there was no misunderstanding. The words were clear. Layla had betrayed her, and she had done it deliberately and systematically. By Monday morning, Amira knew she had to confront her. She couldn't work alongside someone who had been doing this without at least asking why. She sent Layla a message asking to meet after work. Layla responded with, "Sure, is everything okay?" Which would have seemed like normal concern if Amira didn't know better. They agreed to meet at a different cafe, not their usual spot. Amira couldn't bear the thought of having this conversation in a place that held good memories. When Amira arrived, Layla was already there, looking relaxed and casual. She smiled when Amira sat down, completely unaware of what was coming. Amira didn't waste time with small talk. She pulled out the printed emails and placed them on the table between them. "I need you to explain these." The change in Layla's expression was instant. The friendly smile disappeared, replaced by something colder. She glanced at the papers, then looked back at Amira. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Amira had expected many possible reactions: denial, apologies, tears, panic. What she didn't expect was what actually happened. Layla leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. "You went through private company communications?" Her tone was accusatory, as if Amira was the one who had done something wrong. "Don't turn this around," Amira said, her voice shaking with anger. "You've been reporting on me and Zoya to our boss. You've been undermining us while pretending to be our friend. For months, Layla. How could you do this?" Layla was quiet for a moment, and then she did something that shocked Amira even more. She didn't apologize. She didn't even look ashamed. Instead, she became defensive and then coldly logical. "Look, Amira, let's be real here. Zoya has been performing poorly. That's a fact, not an opinion. Someone had to tell Mr. Ahmed what was going on. You were too close to the situation to handle it professionally. That wasn't your place," Amira shot back. "If you had concerns, you should have talked to me, not gone behind my back. Would you have listened?" Layla challenged. "Would you have actually done anything? You were so focused on protecting Zoya and maintaining this fantasy of us all working happily together that you couldn't see reality. I did what needed to be done. By making me look bad too? By questioning my judgment and leadership? That was necessary?" Layla sighed, as if Amira was being difficult and unreasonable. "I was protecting my own career, Amira. You put us in an impossible situation by bringing us here. You mixed friendship with business, and that's never a good idea. I had to make sure that when things went wrong, and they were obviously going wrong, I wasn't dragged down with you and Zoya." The coldness in Layla's voice was like nothing Amira had heard before. This wasn't her friend. This was a stranger wearing her friend's face. "So our friendship meant nothing to you?" Amira asked, her voice breaking. 8 years, Layla. 8 years of being there for each other. And you threw it away for what, a job? "I didn't throw anything away," Layla said, her tone becoming harder. "You're the one who changed the dynamic. You brought us into your workplace without thinking about the consequences. What did you expect to happen? That we'd all hold hands and skip around the office? Real life doesn't work that way. People have to look out for themselves." "Friends are supposed to look out for each other," Amira said, tears starting to fall now. She didn't care. Friends don't stab each other in the back. Friends also don't put their friends in positions where they have to choose between loyalty and their careers, Layla countered. "You forced this situation, Amira. Don't blame me for surviving it." The conversation got worse from there. Everything Amira said was met with justifications and deflections. Layla refused to admit she had done anything wrong. In her mind, she had simply been professional and smart. She accused Amira of being naive and emotional. She said that mixing friendship with work was always going to end badly, and that Amira should have known better. The more they talked, the angrier both of them became. Years of friendship dissolved in the space of an hour. Amira accused Layla of being manipulative and cruel. Layla accused Amira of being controlling and unprofessional. All the kindness, all the shared memories, all the inside jokes and deep conversations, they all seemed meaningless now. How could someone you thought you knew turn out to be so different? Finally, Layla stood up and gathered her things. Her face was cold and closed off. "I'm done with this conversation. I did what I had to do, and I'm not going to apologize for it. If you want to be mad at someone, be mad at yourself for creating this mess in the first place." She walked out without looking back, leaving Amira sitting there alone with the printed emails scattered on the table. Amira sat there for a long time after Layla left, crying quietly. Other people in the cafe glanced at her with concern, but no one approached. She felt completely broken. One of her closest friendships was dead, and she was still reeling from it. But she knew she had to talk to Zoya. She had to warn her about what Layla had been doing. Maybe, just maybe, this would help them repair their own damaged friendship. That night, Amira called Zoya. The phone rang several times, and she almost gave up. But then Zoya answered. Her voice was tired and unwelcoming. "What do you want, Amira?" Amira took a deep breath and explained everything. She told her about finding the emails, about what Layla had been doing, about the confrontation. She expected Zoya to be as shocked and hurt as she was. She expected them to bond over this shared betrayal, but Zoya's response was the final blow that shattered what was left of the triangle. "Are you serious right now?" Zoya said, her voice rising. "You're trying to create drama between us and Layla? This is exactly what I was talking about, Amira. You're so controlling that you can't stand the fact that Layla and I might have our own relationships with people at work. You're jealous that she's doing well and you're trying to turn me against her." Amira couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Zoya, I'm not making this up. I have proof. I saw the emails myself. Or maybe you're just interpreting things in the worst possible way because you're upset," Zoya said. "Layla has been really supportive of me, actually. She's been one of the few people at that office who doesn't judge me constantly, unlike you. She's been reporting your poor performance to our boss," Amira said, her voice desperate now. "She's been using both of us to make herself look better. How can you not see that?" "I see you trying to pit us against each other," Zoya said coldly. "And I'm done with it. I'm done with you constantly having opinions about my work, about my life, about everything. I thought getting out of that job and away from you would help, and it will. I already resigned, Amira. I'm leaving at the end of the month, and honestly, I should have done it sooner." The call ended abruptly. Zoya had hung up on her. Amira stood in her living room, phone still in her hand, feeling completely numb. In the span of a few days, she had lost both of her best friends. The triangle that she thought was unbreakable had completely fallen apart. And somehow she was left standing alone in the rubble, wondering how everything had gone so wrong. The next 2 months were the hardest of Amira's life. She went to work every day feeling isolated and alone. Zoya completed her notice period and left the company without saying goodbye. On her last day, Amira saw her cleaning out her desk and wanted to approach her, but the look Zoya gave her made it clear she wasn't welcome. Layla continued working there, acting as if nothing had happened. They maintained a strictly professional relationship, speaking only when necessary for work projects. It was cold and uncomfortable, but Amira had no choice but to endure it. Amira threw herself into work, determined to prove that she was good at her job regardless of what had happened with her friends. She stayed late, volunteered for extra projects, and slowly started rebuilding her reputation with Mr. Ahmed. It was exhausting, but it was better than sitting at home thinking about everything she had lost. Her other friends tried to check in on her, but she found it hard to talk about what happened. How could she explain the complexity of the situation? How could she make anyone understand the depth of the betrayal and the confusion she felt? She replayed everything in her mind constantly. Should she have noticed the signs earlier? Was she really too controlling like Zoya had said? Had she made a mistake bringing her friends to work with her? Should she have handled things differently when Zoya started struggling? The questions went around and around in her head with no clear answers. Some nights, she would look at old photos of the three of them on her phone, smiling and happy, and wonder if those moments had ever been real. Then, on a random Tuesday evening 2 months after everything fell apart, Amira's phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something made her answer it. "Hello, Amira? It's Zoya." The voice on the other end was quiet, hesitant, completely different from the angry tone of their last conversation. Amira's heart started racing. "Zoya, can we talk, please? I know I don't deserve it, but I really need to talk to you." They agreed to meet at a neutral location, a small park near Amira's apartment. When Amira arrived, she saw Zoya sitting on a bench, looking smaller and more vulnerable than Amira had ever seen her. As she got closer, she noticed Zoya had been crying. They sat down next to each other, and for a long moment neither of them spoke. Finally, Zoya broke the silence. "I'm so sorry." Her voice cracked and tears started flowing again. "Amira, I'm so sorry for everything I said to you. You were right about Layla. You were right about everything, and I was too stupid and too proud to see it." Amira felt her own tears starting. What happened? Zoya took a shaky breath and began to explain. She told Amira about why she had been struggling at work. Her mother had been diagnosed with a serious illness right around the time she started the new job. Zoya had been traveling back to her hometown every weekend to help care for her, losing sleep and emotional energy. She had been terrified and overwhelmed, but too proud to ask for help or even tell anyone what was happening. She felt like she had to handle it alone. "I pushed you away when you tried to help because I was embarrassed," Zoya said. "I thought I could manage everything on my own. And when you confronted me about my work, even though you were being kind, I felt like I was failing. I felt like I was proving everyone right whoever said I wasn't good enough. So I lashed out at you instead of being honest about what I was going through." Amira reached over and took Zoya's hand. "I wish you had told me. I would have helped. I would have understood." "I know that now," Zoya said, "but in the moment I couldn't see it. And then when you told me about Layla, I didn't want to believe it. After I left the company and had some distance, Layla reached out to me. She wanted to meet for coffee, and I thought she was being a good friend, checking in on me. But during that conversation, I started seeing what you had been trying to tell me." Zoya explained that Layla had tried to form an alliance with her against Amira. She made comments about how Amira had always been too controlling, how she had put pressure on both of them, how things were probably better now that Zoya was free from working under her. At first, Zoya had agreed, still hurt and angry from everything that had happened. But as the conversation continued, she started recognizing a pattern. Layla was doing exactly what she had done at work, positioning herself as the reasonable one by making others look bad. "She kept trying to get me to talk badly about you," Zoya said. "She wanted details about our fight, about things you had said or done over the years that bothered me. And that's when I realized she was collecting information she could use. Just like you said. She wasn't trying to be my friend. She was trying to use me." After that meeting, Zoya had gone home and really thought about everything. She realized that Layla had been manipulative all along. Always subtle, always careful, but definitely working an angle. She thought about how Layla had been the one encouraging her to keep her mother's illness private, saying it would make her look weak at work. She remembered how Layla would ask probing questions about Amira's decisions and opinions, questions that seemed caring at the time, but were probably just information gathering. "I was so angry at you for trying to control my life," Zoya said. "But Layla was actually manipulating both of us and I couldn't see it. I blamed you for everything when you were the one actually trying to help me." They talked for hours on that park bench, as the sun set and the streetlights came on. Zoya apologized over and over for not believing Amira, for the harsh things she had said, for pushing away someone who genuinely cared about her. Amira apologized too, for not recognizing how much Zoya was struggling, for maybe being too pushy sometimes, for not creating a safe space where Zoya felt comfortable sharing what she was going through. "I should have been more observant," Amira said. "I was so excited about having you both at work with me that I didn't pay attention to what was really happening. I should have noticed you were struggling with something bigger than just work stress." "Don't do that," Zoya said. "Don't take responsibility for my choices. I should have trusted you enough to tell you about my mom. I should have asked for help instead of trying to be strong all the time. And I definitely should have believed you about Layla and Stiel.